Well, good morning, everybody. It's Pastor Patrick here with a thought for today. We're talking this week about preparation. Now, having said that, I can think of some times, many times in my life, that I was not prepared at all. Like when I went camping, winter camping with Boy Scouts. If that sounds crazy, it's because it actually was. Sleeping in tents in the middle of winter in Canada, I want you to know something. That was a big, big mistake. I wasn't prepared for how cold it would be that weekend. We arrived on a Friday and we left on a Sunday, and I don't think I changed my clothes even once that whole weekend. I just kept adding to what I already had on. Definitely was not prepared for that cold. But I was thinking last night about how God prepares us even when we don't realize that we're being prepared. In 1 Samuel 17, David is about to go up against Goliath. And when questioned about why he thinks he's ready, listen to what he says. This is 1 Samuel 17:34. He says, "Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear, and this Philistine named Goliath will be like one of them." What David is saying is that what I've experienced before has prepared me for this moment. Moses had a similar situation. Here's a man who's escaping Egypt, running for his life through a desert. How could he have known that many years later he would be leading millions of people out of Egypt through a desert? God was preparing him the whole time. See, I'm convinced that God has a way of preparing us for what's ahead of us, even when we don't realize it. I can't tell you how many times I've asked the question, why am I walking through something? God, why am I here? Why am I going through this? Why is this happening to me? Maybe today you're walking through something and you're walking through something that's difficult and you can't understand why. I believe two things. Number one, you're going to get through it. And number two, he's going to use it. I have a phrase that I use sometimes in my life, and it's simply this. It may not be God's perfect will, but I know he'll use it in my life. You're being prepared for something greater than you can see right now. That's why the Bible is full of verses that tell us not to give up, not to lose heart, and not to grow weary in doing the right things. And who can forget the lessons we learned in movies like The Karate Kid, where the teacher is showing the student what to do that seems to be meaningless. The student can't see that what he's doing has meaning. He's ready to give up. He's ready to quit until one day it becomes clear that all those meaningless chores, all those meaningless activities truly did have meaning. It was preparing him for a particular moment. He was learning to be patient. He was learning to be disciplined. He was learning to become stronger. I want you to listen to this little story. I won't read the whole thing, but it's little excerpts from something called The Unmoved Rock, a little story called The Unmoved Rock. The source is unknown, but listen to what it says. A man is sleeping at night and God comes into his room. And the Lord tells the man he had a work for him to do. And he shows him a large rock in front of his cabin. And the Lord explained that the man was to push against the rock with all his might. This man did that day after day, and for many years he toiled from sunup to sundown, his shoulders set squarely against the cold, massive surface of unmoving rock, pushing with all his might. Each night the man returned to his cabin, sore and worn out, feeling that his whole day had been spent in vain. "Lord," he said, "I've labored long and hard in your service, putting all my strength to do that which you have asked. Yet after all this time I have spent, the rock has not even budged, not even a little. What's wrong? Why am I failing?" To this the Lord responded compassionately, "My child, when long ago I asked you to serve me and you accepted, I told you that your task was to push against the rock with all your strength, which you have done. Never once did I mention that I expected you to move it. Your task was to push. And now you come to me, your strength spent, thinking that you have failed. But is that really so? Look at yourself. Your arms are strong. Through opposition, you have grown much, and your abilities now surpass what you used to have. Yet you haven't moved the rock, but your calling was to be obedient and to push and to exercise your faith and trust in my wisdom. This you have done. And by the way, child, I'm going to now move the rock for you. Reminds me of a man by the name of Joseph. He was thrown into a pit by his brothers. He was falsely accused. He was thrown into prison. But eventually he would rise and become the second in charge in all of Egypt. And when those same brothers came to him many years later for help, the same brothers that threw him into a pit, he shared these amazing words. He said, "What you, my brothers, meant for evil, God turned for good. I was being prepared for something and you didn't even know." So back to where I started with my winter camping story. I want you to know today that that experience was not in vain. You see, the next time that I'm asked to go camping in the winter, I will be totally prepared to say no. Have a great day.